In this video, I'm asking the question, is the Daemon writing our lives as if it were writing a novel? And to address this question, we're turning to Joseph Campbell's Pathways to Bliss. This is my absolute favorite Joseph Campbell book. In the chapter titled The Selfish Hero, Campbell writes, in a wonderful essay called On an Apparent Intention in the Fate of the Individual, Schopenhauer points out that once you have reached an advanced age, as I have, you can look back over your life and it can seem to have had a plot, as though composed by a novelist. Events that seemed entirely accidental or incidental turn out to have been central in the composition. So who composed that plot? Schopenhauer's idea is that just like our dreams, our lives are directed by what he called the will, that self of which we are largely unconscious. We have been, he says, the dreamers of our own lives. And so Schopenhauer's idea is that our lives are being written like a novel by what he calls the will. And I think Campbell and Carl Jung, who we talk about a lot, would probably not say the will, but they would call the self. And the self is that potential version of us that lives in our unconscious. It's everything we could be. While Schopenhauer says the will, Jung and Campbell would say the self, I'm going to say the daemon. And I think all three of those things are probably the same thing. So the daemon is this pattern, this shape of what our lives could be. We're constantly being drawn towards that shape. And so in that sense, it can seem as if the daemon is writing our lives, that it's arranging things to happen to bring itself about in the reality of our lives. And so what does that mean for us? What are we supposed to do? Do we just sit back and let it write our lives for us? No, I don't think that is what we do. I think we learn to see the plot. We learn to recognize the plot. And so Schopenhauer and Campbell say that's easiest done when you're a little older, because you have a lot more life to look back over and see, kind of see the plot taking shape. So if you're like in your 20s or your teens, that's a little harder because you don't have a lot of life experience to cobble together and see the direction. So I still think you can look at things that happen in your childhood in the direction they're pointing. So it's not completely impossible, but it's just harder. Our job, I think, is to learn to see the plot and to live into it, to live as if there is a plot. When we see the direction the plot seems to be going, and then we're faced with the decision, and that decision might lead towards that plot or away from it, to decide to move towards it, to live with a little bit of faith, a little bit of hope, in what may seem like determinism in some ways. Nietzsche talked about this. He talked about how you can take hope in predestination almost, and that's not really what it is. You are free to say no to it, but when you discover, oh, my life kind of seems to be going this way, can you find the joy in that? Can you find the joy in being everything you could be, every potential that you have? Can that lead you in a joyful direction? And I think it can. I think it leads you in the most joyful direction. I think our goal in life is not to be happy, which is what a lot of people assume, but our goal in life is to find our purpose and live it out. And that's what this is about. I think that's what the novel of our lives is being written about. And is pushing us in the direction of that purpose. And so in that sense, I think the Daemon is writing the story of our lives. And we can play along, or we can fight it at every step of the way. And some of the great ways to fight it are to spend all day scrolling on your phone, or watch TV, or drink every night till you black out, and not do anything that has meaning or purpose. Those are great ways to fight it, but great ways to not fight it are to figure out what you love to do, figure out what you're passionate about, and then do those things. And specifically figure out how those things can contribute to other people's existence in their lives and their happiness and their purpose. As Campbell said, the influence of a vital person vitalizes.